Hello, viewers. Welcome back. So, this is part two of our series of session on the new feature that we started in the previous session, that is the interest calculation. So, in the previous session, we quickly walked through how you can enable interest calculation and how you can set up interest calculation for any party ledger or any ledger, which we will discuss as we keep moving forward. And also, we saw how easy and simple it is for us to set up the interest calculation. And we also saw the report of interest that is levied by Tally on the overdue outstanding. So from this session onwards, couple of sessions, we will go into each of the parameters under interest calculation, and then we will try and understand what is the impact of those parameters by setting them to yes or no. Okay. So let us go to Tally and explore the first parameter under interest calculation and then understand how we can make use of this. Let us understand the first parameter under interest calculation. So let us go back to the same ledger, that is the party ledger, which is India Mart, and then understand the first parameter. So I'll go to alter, select ledger, and I'm going to type India Mart, enter, come here to activate interest calculation and press enter. Now you're going to get this interest parameter. The first parameter is calculate interest transaction by transaction. So if you make this as yes, basically Tally, what it is going to do is it is going to consider the each transaction, and for each transaction it is going to apply the interest calculation based on the parameter that you are going to set up over here. In the last session we have said yes, we want to calculate interest transaction by transaction. It is set to yes, and we said that calculate interest at the rate of 10%, okay, on the debit balance only, which is basically the outstanding amount. And we are saying that calculate past due date, that is after the credit period, if any amount is outstanding, then interest needs to be calculated. That is the instruction that we are giving here. And you want to calculate from the due date of invoice. And the other option here is basically the rounding off. We had discussed about this rounding off in one of our previous sessions. So the rounding off is basically the fraction of the rupee will be rounded off to the nearest value that you are going to set up, either normal, downward, or upward. So if you say normal, then it is going to ask you what is the limit. So the limit is set as 1. If it is set as 1, then it is going to round off to the nearest 1 rupee. So with this parameter, I am going to press Ctrl A and save this Ctrl A, and now we are going to see the interest calculation. Instead of going through the menu path, you can use the go to and directly access the interest report. So I am going to press Ctrl G or click here, go to, and type here interest. So what is that you want to see? Do you want to see interest receivable for all the parties, or interest payable for all the parties, or ledger interest calculation? So ledger interest calculation will allow you to select a particular ledger to view the interest calculation. So let me select ledger interest calculation. Since we had set up for only one party, I am going to select India Mart, and we saw this calculation where it is going to calculate on the overdue amount, that is past due date, on each transaction or the each sales invoice. So if you want to see the detail, again, if you remember the keyboard shortcut Alt F5, click on Alt F5, and this is where we understood how the interest gets calculated. Let us go back to Ledger Master Alteration. Now from here you can directly go to Ledger Master Alteration through your secret number 3, that is your go to. Click on go to, then select Alter Master, select Ledger, and select India Mart, and we are in the Ledger Alteration screen. So you come here, enter, and let us make this as no, and then see what is the impact. So I'm going to come here and then I'm going to say no, enter. And now if you see the parameter at the bottom is changed, we will see that later. Okay, so basically it is asking you, since you don't want to calculate interest transaction by transaction, it is now going to calculate interest on the running balance. So now Tally is asking you what is the applicable date starting from. So let us say I want to apply from 1st of April, and whether you want to do till date or whether you want to set up a cutoff date. For example, let us say the cutoff date is 31st December. So I'm going to say 31/12, enter, and normal rounding off, limit is fine, and I'm going to press Control A. Control A, escape, and you are now already in the interest calculation of ledger. Select here, and now if you notice, you will see that automatically the interest calculation parameter is changed and the interest report is changed. Now interest is being calculated on the balance amount based on the transactions of each of the entry. For us to understand the interest calculation methodology, which is not as per each transaction, you will see now on the right hand side there is the extract of the ledger where the transactions have happened. Now if you notice here, on 15th of April we have made the first sale where the sale value is 9. Then the second sale has happened on 2nd of June. So from 16th of April till 2nd of June, the amount outstanding is 90,000, which is 48 days. At the rate of 10%, it is calculated interest. And now since we had set up the rounding off method, the fraction of the rupee is not getting calculated. It gets automatically rounded off. If you notice, the second transaction for 1,20,000 has happened on 2nd of June. So the total outstanding 90 plus 120, what we are seeing here on the right side, totals up to 2,10,000. Now for one day, this amount is outstanding. For one day, again interest is calculated at 10%. The next transaction, if you see, it is happening on 3rd of June for another 1,20,000. The total amount now is 3,30,000, and again it is calculated for 2 days, that is 4th and 5th of June. 2 days at the rate of 10%. The interest is calculated. So this way, if you say even for a party ledger that you don't want to calculate interest transaction by transaction, it is going to take the closing balance value based on the transaction date, and interest is calculated for the outstanding amount or the balance outstanding in the ledger accordingly. Now if you don't want this kind of an interest calculation and you actually want transaction by transaction, then it is very simple. All you need to do is just go back again and then change the parameter to transaction by transaction. So I'm going to again say Alt G. I'll go to Alter Master, select Ledger, India Mart, enter, come here to activate interest calculation, and just come back here and say yes. But important thing here, if you see here, this parameter is changed here. All you need to do is, if you say always, then it is not going to consider your credit days. So you select past due date, enter, and now you say the calculation should happen from the due date of the invoice or the reference. Okay. Now I'm going to press Ctrl A, save this Ctrl A, come back, come to the report, press Alt F5, and you will have the previous thing where interest is calculated based on the overdue value. I hope you would have understood the relevance of this option that we discussed during the session, that is calculate interest transaction by transaction. And we also saw the impact of setting it to yes, where the interest is calculated bill wise, and generally it is used for the party ledgers where there is an overdue outstanding. And we also saw by setting it to no, how even the party ledger will convert into a normal transaction and calculate interest. So in the next session, we will see other parameter and understand their relevance. So thank you all once again for staying till the end. See you all in the next session. Thank you very much.